things well. And sometimes we ask them to do it in a certain amount of time. And that's where you'll see the intensity. But there's no gratuitous yelling. There's no scenes at a Full Metal Jacket. And in fact, one of the things that we try to focus on in Massachusetts is an understanding that a lot of the cadets that are coming to us have been in the program as long as some of the cadre. They just missed encampment last year. And we try to rope them or others into junior leadership positions fairly early on in the process. So it's a full leadership laboratory, the way we do it in Massachusetts. There must be other questions. Come on, parents.
Questions?
Yes, hi. I'm Jessica Wisniewski. My daughter joined the Civil Air Patrol.
What can we answer for you?
Can you please just share when they come on Saturday and then Sunday, Monday, like a little bit of what time do they start, wake up, and then finish for the night?
Okay, well, there are regulations that are very precise about how much sleep the cadets are supposed to get, and where we guard that very carefully. They will not have their sleep interrupted, so you can rest assured. And I'll get to the specifics of the times in a minute. I may have to rely on some of my cadets for that. But we have positions called training officers. These are adults that are specifically trained in on local parentis, which is a Latin phrase meaning, while you're not there, we act as the parent, and we make sure that we protect the cadets from any kind of physical or emotional harm. So in terms of sleep and that kind of thing, those people are with the cadets 24 hours a day, all 7 days, and they make sure that those cadets are getting food and sleep and hygiene, showers, brushing their teeth, taking their medications. Can one of you cadets, maybe Huthchild, share the SOP for the usual wake up and PT and the usual lights out?
Yes, sir. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, so I'd have to go looking the drive for what exactly the SOP is this year.
Aren't we doing a wake up at 5 with hygiene, and then or 5:30? Chat was usually about 7.
I believe that's correct, sir.
Something like that. And lights out is what time? It's always the same.
I'm not sure, sir. I don't remember the time.
It's usually 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. And
we're required by regulation to provide 8.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Prior to that 8.5 hours kicking off, there's a 1 hour block of personal time that if cadets choose, they can certainly go to bed early and they can get an extra hour of sleep. During that personal time, they are not to be interrupted. It's whatever time they need to unwind, decompress, do their own thing. So.
Any other questions, ma'am?
No, it's just my first time, so I'm just trying to help prepare.
Okay.
It'll be her first overnight for a away camp. She's had overnights at friends' houses, but that's it.
Okay, well, we are aware that a lot of cadets come to us. This is their first experience away, and that's what those TOs are there for. They're always watching for signs of cadet discomfort, but we keep them pretty busy, so they usually go right to bed and right to sleep because they're tired. So it's, I think she'll be okay.
Question.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, beautiful. So I don't know if this has already been asked, but what sort of activities happen in the morning, in the afternoon, midday? What do they actually do?
There are a number of activities that are like hands-on kind of things. We do an obstacle course, for example. Every cadet will have a chance to go to run an obstacle course. There's a leadership reaction course where they have to team up and use their heads and equipment they're given to solve a problem, like crossing a water obstacle. There's some opportunities for flying. We have our Civil Air Patrol aircraft, and cadets. Particular priority goes to the cadets that haven't had an O flight, and then we go from there. But there'll be some flying time. There's a lot of drill and ceremony. There's a lot of physical training, PT. That's the standard. They do that probably for a couple of hours each day.
Each day, okay.
Each day, every day. There's every day they get up, they do hygiene, they go out, they do PT, then they go back, they shower, they come back out, they do a formation, they march to breakfast, and then they'll either be. We have classes too, and the classes are all cadet led. And National Headquarters has a curriculum for us. They ask us to teach so many hours of leadership, so many hours of aerospace, so many hours of character, so many hours, physical training, and we adhere to that schedule, but we allow the cadets a degree of freedom in how they want to prepare those classes. So the one squadron may do something slightly different from the other squadron, and we have adults monitoring the quality control, the contact hours, but every day is slightly different, and every day is going to challenge the cadets physically. We have a rappelling tower, for example. Are you familiar with rappelling?
Tower, not so sure about that.
It's a solid wall where the cadets get to the top, and then they use ropes and they rappel down the tower. It scares a lot of them, but there's nothing more magical than watching the face of a cadet who's a little bit nervous but makes it to the bottom of that tower. Their confidence soars, and that's the kind of thing we're looking for in all of our activities. And every day they'll have something of that magnitude.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
I threw a link in the chat. That's the encampment guide. That's kind of our curriculum guidance. That's what we're given from National. It explains the contact hours, what a typical day typically looks like. Our schedules are free for us to adjust, but that's just the big picture of what to expect.
Right. And the intensity, as I said earlier, the intensity end of encampment. People hear stories all the time. Oh, it's intense and it's a lot of yelling. No. Our intensity is more in those activities. If there's any yelling, it has training value. Cadets are about to do something unsafe. Cadets are about to do something that is inappropriate. And sometimes yelling gets their attention, but we certainly don't overuse it, because then it fails to get their attention. And when we are going to raise our voice, we want to make sure that it's completely understood that this is something to listen to. So it's a very intense environment, because rappelling towers and leadership reaction courses, obstacle courses are all tough. It takes a lot of courage sometimes to climb some of those walls and peer over the top, but they do it. And that's where our intensity comes in. And they always come away feeling empowered.
So I was hoping that she could still have some kind of flying experience at encampment, even though she's going to be doing her second orientation flight on June 28th.
So it totally depends. I can answer this one, Colonel. That totally depends on the number of cadets we have that have never flown before. We take all the cadets that are interested in flying, and we rack and stack them based on how many Civil Air Patrol orientation rides they've already had. And that's the tiering of the ordering. So first time take priority, second flight is next, third flight is next. We have an awesome group of pilots that all support our encampment. They come out, we bring all of our aircraft to encampment, and it comes down to a maintenance, a weather, and a pilot availability. If they want to fly and we have the availability, we will get them to fly. I just can't guarantee a flight because there's things beyond our control. I can't control the weather. I can't control the maintenance on the aircraft. But I know last year, I believe it was 70-ish flying sorties. And I know every single first-time cadet flew. I believe every second-time cadet flew. And they started getting into the third flights before the end of the week.
Sorry, should I not have her do this second orientation flight that's scheduled for June 28th so she can do it at encampment?
Honestly, it doesn't make a difference. I wouldn't hold her up from a guaranteed. If she can definitely fly in June, I'd get her up in June. Because like I said, at the encampment, we could have some weather. If we have bad weather for 2 or 3 days, second flights aren't even going to get to fly. We'll only get the first flights up.
I forgot
So,
about weather. Yeah. Okay.
so I would take the guarantee whenever you can get it.
Okay. I just
And
know
it may free her up to do other activities because the
Oh,
flights, when they happen, we pull the cadets that are flying. They're going to miss whatever block they're in right then to get that flight.
Oh, okay.
So we've had cadets that have signed in and said, yes, I want to fly. I want to fly. It's going to be my second flight. I want to fly. And then once it's their time to go, they say, I don't want to fly. I don't want to leave this group. I don't want to leave my flight. I want to keep doing this activity. And they pass on their second flight.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have another question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Multiple things, but these are very specific, maybe too specific, and forgive me if this is covered or it's too weird. But what about the usage of the phones, for example? When could cadets use them? How many times a day? Whatnot? You guys covered that yet?
Nope, we have not covered. We have not covered that.
Oh.
Typically, phones are secured upon check-in. Every cadet's going to have a little plastic cubby for their valuables. They're going to lock them in there. They'll have the key. We typically advise against phones. Kids today are just glued to their phones. I have two younger kids that aren't yet ready to join the program, but they are already technology-minded kids. So we try to break them from using their phones, have them just go interact with your peers. If there's a legitimate need, if somebody needs to call home, we have training officers, flight training officers in every flight. They'll allow them to, get their phone, call home. But
yes, there's need for sure, and only because I need her to call me. How about simple need like that? I want my kid to call me. Is that a good reason for her to pick up the phone? What do you think? I'm just gonna let her be for a week without calling me?
That's a you decision. I certainly don't have any objections to it. I'm never going to prevent a cadet from calling home if that's the desire. What we ask is that it did not detract from any of her training. If she wants to spend some of her personal time calling home, just checking in. If that's going to help her, I'm fine with that. I have no issues with it.
So during the personal, 1 hour personal time, you can use it. Okay, good. Is that typically in the evening or in the morning?
It's always the 1 hour block before lights out because some cadets elect to go to bed early. During that personal time, our staff is not to do anything other than monitor them for safety. There is no training during that personal time that is meant to be hands off. If they want to read a book, they want to, just sit and relax and not talk to anybody, or they want to talk to a flight member. That's totally up to them. That 1 hour block is their block.
Gotcha. Perfect. Beautiful.
I would just encourage you to maybe cut back on the number of phone calls to maybe just one or two. One of the goals is to try to create cadets that are independent and somewhat able to take on some risks for themselves.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But there's all sorts of other friends that you got to check in, Yeah.
If they're calling back to home, they're not engaging with the present, and they're not engaging with themselves. So we usually discourage phone calls, maybe once, maybe twice a week. But I would ask that we try not to do it once a night, because I think that takes away some of that kid's independence, which is something we're really trying to build in that cadet.
Yeah, but during that 1 hour, they can check with their friends, right?
No, if they want to call a parent, that's one thing, but we're certainly not going to have them surfing the web and checking in with all of their friends. They're there to focus on the encampment mission, not to reach back. So
they wouldn't be allowed to text or do other things to their friends?
No, we take their phones so they aren't focused on, because a lot of things we do involve safety. And if they're involved in checking Instagram and chatting with their friends, they're not paying attention to what they're doing. And that could be a recipe for a problem. So we take their phones. If they get their phone for the evening, it's for the express purpose of calling back to a parent, but not to sit there and play on the internet for an hour.
On the Friday, typically on the Friday of the encampment, they will actually get their phones back with they get some guidance on what are acceptable uses, not acceptable uses, for them to be able to do exactly that. Reach out with their friends, take photos with the friends that they've made at this encampment, post on their social medias. We want to encourage other cadets to join the programs. We're trying not to completely limit their ability to chat with the outside, but it's more impactful for them after a really powerful week to be able to reach out to their friends and say, hey, look at all the cool things we did. Look at the friends I made. So they will get their phones back on Friday afternoon, evening, early evening. But yeah, as Colonel Williams alluded to, during the week, we try to limit their phone use unless it's to call a parent. They want to call home, that's totally fine.
Yes, sir. From a parent standpoint, my daughter went through at age 12, and I watched her. You know, it's a struggle. So she actually had an opportunity to call home. They said, "Hey, do you want to call home?" And she said, "Nope, I'm going to finish this out." And it made her so proud to be able to, at the end of the week, to be able to say, you know, and obviously we talked to her at the end of the week, and it was great, but she did it on her own, and she was very proud to be able to do that. Like I'm sure had she needed to call home, but she elected. She said, "No, I'm gonna do this." So, just a perspective.
I was wondering what the food was like.
So the food is it's effectively catered for us. We purchase our food, and then the Air Force has a services unit down here on Joint Base Cape Cod, and they are the ones that do kind of the nutrition balancing. There's nothing wild, but it's not 5-star dining, but it's certainly better than canned meal or an MRE every day.
It covers all the nutrition.
Been very pleased.
For every meal, is there one option, or is there like a few options in case?
Typically, there's two. Most meals have two options. If you, on the registration paperwork, if you put in any sort of dietary restrictions, they review the whole list. They don't know necessarily your cadet's dietary restriction. They just know generally we have X number of this restriction, X number of this restriction, and they kind of curtail the menu to cater around that so that they're not offering two options that somebody couldn't pick either one of them. So they've been very accommodating to us. We've had a pretty good relationship with them. So,
is there a graduation ceremony at the end of this that the parents are invited to?
So typically we do. It is a weather dependent. So I don't want to guarantee you, yes, we're going to do something. There is nowhere to hold all of the parents and family on base. We have grown beyond the size of the base theater. I think that only holds 200 people. And last year, we alone as the encampment were 290 some odd people. So trying to get them plus family into a building that holds 200 wasn't possible. So we plan to do something in our parade field, but it is completely exposed. So if it's going to rain, we will cancel. There will be some more guidance as we get closer and we make that decision. Your parents will be well informed ahead of time, but the plan is yes.
I saw a question pop in on the, someone raised a hand and asked if we could share details about the arrival and the departure. So Kathy, maybe give them a blanket update on how we do that.
Look at the question.
Can you cover drop-off, pickup, logistics, please?
So that we're going to have signage. So as soon as you come through the main gate of Joint Base Cape Cod, there's going to be signs, and you're going to be following the directions that had been included with your registration zone confirmation email. So just follow those. That'll get you from the gate to where we are actually having the encampment and where the kids will be staying, and where the in process as well as out process. It'll be the same building. But we'll have cadets outside making sure that you see them and they'll wave you in. There's going to be plenty of signs. There'll be tables. Each table will take care of one aspect. You know, first they're going to get checked to see if they have everything that they need. And if we see that they don't have everything, like a critical thing that they need that was on the packing list, we can send you over to the CGX, which is the base exchange. And with your cadets cap ID, you can go over there and buy any uniform item or sneakers if you forget sneakers, whatever. And then they'll have probably at the same time, they'll have a contraband check, and they will be looking, the staff cadets look through the bags and make sure that there's nothing in there that wasn't on the packing list. If they do find something other than a cell phone, they'll send it back with you or whomever is dropping them off. So when you get there, don't leave until we've given you the A-OK, because you might have some things to take with you. And then there'll be a next section where we just take care of their phones. We wrap them up. You know, we do the best we can to prevent any damage. But we wrap them up in bubble wrap, in a bubble wrap envelope. We've got their name on it, and they're all placed in a secure location. And generally, they won't get them until sometimes they'll get them if they go on an O flight. But then mostly they get them on Friday night after they've done all their previously chosen chores. And then because they'll have like a celebration get together Friday night, and that's when they usually get their phones back.
I see there's also a question on the medical side. Can you elaborate what you mean by cover the medical?
Yeah, one of my sons is just getting over being sick, so he has an inhaler. So we're wondering how we bring a doctor's note with him when if he's still under care or what.
So any Civil Air Patrol very recently, just changed our regulations regarding medicine. Cadets are to carry on their person only hormone and like emergency things like an EpiPen and inhaler they can keep on their person. It's a non-issue as long as he comes with the original container in the original box with that little prescription label on it. Totally fine.
So inhaler. What about allergy medicine? No.
Yeah, if he takes like a normal medicine, what'll happen is during this in-processing that Captain Canberra was talking about, you have a health service officer who's he's a registered nurse. He will be the one to do all of the medical screening along with the securing of like valuables like a cell phone or something. We're going to have plastic lockers for all the cadets' medication to get stored in. They'll report to him each time they have to take it. If they take it in the morning and at night, if they take it at night only, morning only, whenever their administration protocol is, they'll check in with him and he logs it in Cap Health, which is supposed to send you an email every time they take their medicine so that you know that your cadet is taking their medicine.
Fantastic.
But it's your cadet will be responsible for managing their own meds. It just is done in an area we see them so that you are aware.
Cadet Rondell, I see you had a question about arrival uniform. Well, it's written here, so I'll just say we will be sending out arrival instructions that'll be very specific, but it'll be an ABU uniform for arrival.
Another question here.
Go ahead.
Good.
Okay, I'm not sure if covered in terms of this sleeping. How many people in the room typically? Is there bunk beds? Is there what's kind of that situation like?
Captain Canberra, that sounds like a you question.
Doesn't it?
Perfect. Huh.
So there's two bunk beds in each room. Generally, we will have a minimum of 3 people in a room, up to 4. And we take into consideration their ages. So any cadets that might happen to be doing their core after age 18, they wouldn't be with like a 12-year-old type of thing. We try to keep the ages kind of similar in the same room. Also, they'll be local to the rest of their flight. And then on each floor, there's going to be a minimum of 2 senior members for supervision.
Girls versus boys.
Separate floors.
Yeah, we'll have a separate floor.
floors.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Civil Air Patrol
Gotcha.
regulates a lot of that for us. So we just have to follow whatever their procedures are. So males and females will be on separate floors. We have female adult staff that'll be on those floors, and then there'll be male adult staff assigned to
Okay.
the second floor or whatever floor the males are on.
Oh, okay.
And then, like Captain Kemper said, everybody's kind of broken up by age. So you have like age, 12, 13, maybe 14 in a room, 15, 16 in a room. Your 18-year-olds are in their own rooms, not their own rooms, but grouped with other 18-year-old cadets. We have a lot of cadet protection policies that we follow to make sure we don't have any issues.
And there's some possibility of, in adjacent or even in the same room for the same squadron members, sounds like?
So squadron from encampment, we try to we follow a similar structure. We actually try to separate squadrons, home squadron members across the encampment so that people meet new folks.
Oh, I see.
We don't have enough squadrons in the wing that's always possible. So you might have one person in your flight at encampment, but we do try to spread everybody out so that they meet new people.
Right. Gotcha. Thanks.
All right. Some new questions in the chat. We'll answer the permission slip one first. Kathy, if you could talk about registration zone, then I'll talk about a typical day in encampment.
Yeah, when you're applying for the Corps encampment, those are right there in the registration zone when you're applying. You won't find a register button until you have filled out the forms and have uploaded those, as well as the CAP Health. It will direct you to the CAP Health site on e-services, and that has to be filled out to the best of your ability, especially any allergies that are, you're taking medicine for, food allergies, anything like that. That has to be, we have to know, because we have to keep track of that. But all those, it's just you fill it out, and then you should just be able to upload it right there and then you'll find the register button the very bottom of the page.
All right. So another parent said if it's not been covered, it was, but we're happy to cover it again. What does a typical day look like? Well, the cadets will get up very early, usually 5:30, somewhere in that time frame. Depends. I don't remember what we've established for this year just yet. They will be given an opportunity to the bathroom. Then they will change into physical training clothes, go outside, do a little PT. Then they'll come back in from PT. They will shower and the rest of the hygiene that they need to do. Clean their rooms, make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and in serviceable condition. They'll fall out into a formation. We'll then march them to breakfast. They'll get breakfast. From breakfast.
At what time?
7:30-ish breakfast.
Okay.
And then we give them plenty of time to eat. They're not rushed. They will be able to finish all of their food. And then they will go to their first training event of the day. We usually divide it into morning block and afternoon block with lunch in between. So for the next 4 hours, they might go to the obstacle course. And then at lunchtime, they come back, they have chow. And then that afternoon, typically we don't do 2 major events in a day. So if they do the obstacle course, then they'll have classes in the afternoon. If they do classes in the morning, then they'll do something like the obstacle course, the leadership reaction course, the rappel tower in the afternoon. Then they'll have the evening meal, which is usually 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then after that, there'll be an opportunity. Usually they do some kind of PT games, something that is fun, but also gets the cadets involved in developing a habit of lifelong fitness. And as we've already said, by 8 o'clock, they're into quiet time, and 9 o'clock, it's lights out. And just about every cadet after a day like that falls asleep pretty fast.
I have a 2-part question. My first part is, are the sleeping quarters air conditioned? And if not, are there outlets if a cadet wanted to bring a fan with him or her?
Yeah,
That's
fans are
an easy
good.
one.
Yeah.
Fans are encouraged.
For the
Well, it's
Fans
on
are
the packing
encouraged.
list.
Yes.
It's not air conditioned, and it does tend to get cooler at night. And with a fan, it's not too bad. So they're usually doing okay, but fans are allowed.
The buildings were recently updated to have a building ventilation. It's not for comfort, it's just to prevent it from growing mold, but it does make the air move a little bit. So if you don't bring a fan, I mean, you can sleep, but I do recommend a fan. It is nice, especially those cool Cape evenings. We do have a couple questions. I don't want to let some of these drop off here. A question about the flights for encampment. If you finished all of your O flights, I don't know. That's a question a pilot would have to ask, but or that I would have to ask a pilot. What I can tell you is that flight preference is given to the cadets who have not flown. Once we've hit all the never flown cadets, we move to the first time, second time, third time, and that is the order of how we do flights. Last year we got up to, I believe, third time flyers before we ran out of time. I don't know what this year will look. We won't know until we get boots on ground, but
As a general rule, if a cadet has completed all of their O flights, they can backseat it, but they can't. There is no more curriculum for them. So depending on the circumstances, they can and the plane, they can ride in the back seat. But that depends on availability. And as Colonel Silva is saying, there often isn't availability.
Typical day, permission slip, how to pay for the invoice. So the way registration zone is built, once you submit an application, it must go to your local cadets unit commander. Once they approve it, your payment option should open. So if you haven't checked registration zones since you've submitted, I just recommend going in, checking, and you should see a pending. Cadet Hill, go ahead. Do you have some weigh in?
I was just, the way I've done it, normally next to the payment, it's going to be a $sign that's yellow once you're able to pay it. Click on that, and it's pretty self-explanatory through there. That's the way I've always done it and explained it, and most people are able to get it done through that.
Perfect. You're clearly more capable of answering that one than me.
Addie, while we have you on there, Cadet Hill, why don't you talk about our plans for sharing photos in Facebook where people can go and see. I know we have some kind of a grand plan for people to track their cadet.
Yes, sir. So for those of you who don't know, National actually has recently updated their public affairs regulations. So we are a little bit more restricted in what we can share than in previous years. However, after talking to the senior members and other people from other wings, the way we think we're going to do it this year, and it may not end up working this way, but this is the plan for as of right now, we will be sharing photos on Instagram, Facebook, and any of the other platforms that we have. So again, follow us on social media. You'll be able to see pictures through there. However, we're not going to do giant photo dumps on there, so you'll probably only see maybe 10 pictures a day on those platforms. However, the current plan is to share a Google Drive with all parents and cadets that will have a lot more photos in it, and it will be organized by day. So hopefully we will be sending out an email to parents and cadets with a Google Drive link, and then parents can check that daily to see what photos we've posted. Photos will probably not be uploaded until later in the evening, so after dinner time. But that way you get more photos than what we share on social media. But that's the current plan as of right now.
Good.
Okay, I have a medical question. It's two parts. So I heard someone, or Brian, you mentioned bringing hormones. So should I be concerned about transgender?
No, I that's the phrasing they use. They're alluding to like birth control for the female cadets.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then lastly, my daughter does take over-the-counter allergy medicine. Yep. So
totally fine.
Do you need a doctor's note for that?
Just have it listed in Cap Health as something that they take and how often they're supposed to take it. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question in the chat on whether we're going to try to expose people to other services equipment, and the short answer is where we can, yes. It is a CAP Air Force program, So we make a concerted effort to expose them to aviation. Clearly, this year it's proving difficult. The Air Force budget is struggling a little bit with the continuing resolution, and we don't know whether we're going to get some C-130s or other kind of aircraft available. We're pressing it as hard as we can. We also always look to try to get in some Army Blackhawks, whether for static display or flights. We've, in years past, been able to coordinate with the Coast Guard for different things. A lot really depends on budgets and availability. Several years we've had Air Guard forces deployed, just not available. Same with Army. So we do what we can when we can. But you also have to be cognizant of the fact that we have a curriculum that we're required to meet. And we have to focus on meeting those things that National has asked us to do as priorities. Any specific first year advice for an attendee? Yeah, why don't one of our cadets try to take that one on?
I have some of my public affairs cadets on if one of you guys want to take that.
I can take that if none of them are willing. Yeah. So going to encampment prepared to be stressed out some of the time. You're going to have what will feel like a lot of things to do in a very short time. But you're going to realize as you get to the end of the week that all those things that you were asked to do either made you a better cadet or helped you work towards becoming a better cadet. You'll have a bunch of classes every day. You'll have a bunch of drill. Most of it will be very coordinated. So you'll be working together with your flight. You're going to know where you're going, when you're going all the time. You're going to have some free time in the evenings. Spend it very wisely. You can take some time to go to sleep early. You can make a lot of friends, which is what I advise doing. I've made probably the best friends I've ever met at encampment, especially my basic year. You can do that very easily, especially in your own flight. But if you get the chance to with other flights and other squadrons, stay hydrated. Make sure you bring everything on the packing list, including your hydration, all of your sunscreen, your bug spray, and be prepared to do some work.
My only advice as the adult commandant is if you have a question, ask your question. No one should be intimidating you into not asking a question. The whole point behind encampment is learning something. And if you want to know something, your flight sergeant or your first sergeant or your flight commander in that chain of command are there to teach you and to answer questions. So feel free to do so. That's the point.
And also, I'd like to say, keep for the core cadets, keep in mind the first 3 days are going to be your toughest. But once you get through that third day, now you're kind of over the hump. You start to get used to the routine. You start to make friends. Remember that every single person there, even though they look really cool and calm and collected inside, they're super nervous, just like you. So just keep that in mind, that you're not the only one thinking, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or, whatever. Another thing that you can do before encampment begins, especially for the parents of kids that have to take medication, have them practice monitoring and taking it at home, just so they're like familiar with the whole process. So it's not kind of a big surprise to them when they come here. And also they're going to be pretty active. So that would be another good thing to do, is just make sure that they get out and do something active every single day. Because like I said in one of my emails, they'll be walking, marching, running, being super active. So if they're not used to that, start getting them going now.
Chief, looks like there's a good question for you here. After registration, do we go immediately into training, or is there something else planned?
So yeah, that's actually a good one. We were just talking about that today. Kind of the beginning of encampment. We're doing we've adapted a lot for I think for some of the adults, you've seen the obviously the full metal jacket piece, and we absolutely don't do that. I think Colonel Williams has expressed it best even when you go to basic training, which this isn't obviously, but the first thing that the drill sergeant says is follow me. He doesn't start yelling. So our plan, our loose plan right now is, we're going to get the cadets in hopefully before lunch. They'll go to their rooms and start prepping their rooms according to the standard operating procedure. And then we'll go to lunch. We'll probably have an intro with the cadet staff so they know who everybody is and their position. They're going to know Colonel Silva, Colonel Williams, and then obviously their flight sergeant. And then we're going to go into something called the first 100 yards to really kind of put those cadets together as a team and teach them to work together. That's how everything comes together. Because you cannot, I did about 30 years in the military, and I can tell you, we obviously do not go around yelling at people every day because that is non-productive. It's about working together as a team, and that's really where we're headed to with those cadets. So that's kind of the loose plan for registration. With understand, this is a cadet-led program. The squadron commanders, our cadet squadron commanders, have a lot of say in this. So we've given them some guidance, and we're going to see what they come out with. Hopefully that answers your question. Is there anything else specific? If not, I did see someone else had their hand up, but
Gavin had a question.
Yes, not a question, but rather I wanted to tack on a piece of advice of my own. Just even though everybody is yelling, never be afraid to ask for help. Obviously, obey the chain of command, but just because everybody looks quote unquote mean and is yelling at you all the time doesn't mean you should be afraid to ask for help.
And do you get promoted at the end?
So the encampment itself is not a promoting authority. I am not your cadet's local commander. Some cadets will get promoted, not necessarily at the end of encampment, but that may fulfill a requirement for them. So the encampment is a requirement for a cadet to earn the Billy Mitchell Award to make them a cadet officer, a cadet second lieutenant. So the encampment itself is more of checking a box for a future promotion in most cases.
We have on occasion had cadets that the date by which they've done everything they need to do, and then during encampment we get to the date that they were allowed to be pinned, that 8-week mark, and their squadron commanders have contacted us and asked us to pin them in front of the entire formation. And it's usually a pretty special thing for cadets to be pinned in front of the encampment formation. So if any of that coincides and we have that request, we will do it.
That's usually reserved for the really big promotions, right?
No, we've done airmen.
Sure.
We've done airmen before.
Airmen, yeah.
Well, they have to be airmen to.
No, I'm not saying two cadet airmen. I'm saying cadet senior airmen, staff sergeant, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're caught up on the questions in the chat here, unless I missed any. If anybody has any other questions they want to throw out there or throw into the chat, we're happy to answer whatever. 15 more minutes.
One more little one.
Sure, go ahead.
I was wondering if this is an active duty base, like Air Force base, isn't that right?
This base is such a unique base. So Joint Base Cape Cod has active duty Air Force National Guard, Army National Guard, active duty Coast Guard. There's all sorts of users of this base. The Air Force side, Otis Air National Guard Base is obviously Air National Guard. The Army side is National Guard. There's kind of a big mix. The facilities we will use for the most part are Army National Guard. We'll use some of the facilities on the Air National Guard side.
That's what I wanted to know. If there's is there any interaction, or they do anything together? Is it strictly separate at all times as a policy, or is just practicality? I'm curious about all of that.
The facilities we use are they are training facilities, so we reserve them ahead of time. So nobody will be using the facilities that we're using because we've reserved them. I'm actually in the Air National Guard down on that base, so some of the interactions we have are from me saying, hey, can this commander come over and have a chat with some of the kids and tell them about how they got to where they are in their career. Part of
Oh,
our
good.
goal is to expose our cadets to different professions in the Air Force. I'm not a pilot in the Air Force. I've been on a plane twice in my Air Force career. Not everybody in the Air Force flies, and we like to expose them to the other jobs that are available. That base is an intelligence base. We have communications down there. The Air Force Services Flight are the ones that are going to feed us, so they get a chance to talk to the kids while they're in the food line. They are exposed to the different career fields. So we do try to get them exposed, but they won't just be wandering around without us. It's just not that area of the base is kind of designated to be a training location. Gavin, your question, it's the same exact spot as last year. Generally,
Well,
we're using different buildings, same
buildings, yes.
general location, same corner of the base. We're going to use different buildings this year.
And then, are you near the beach? Are you going to have any activities near the beach if you're near the beach?
No.
Getting on and off to go to a beach in the summer on Cape Cod is a logistical nightmare for us. And
even if you live here, it's hard to get to the beach.
Honestly, as a commander, it worries me more about having the adult to cadet ratio. That is my number one concern. That's National's number one concern this year. I have to maintain a minimum of I believe it's 12-to-1 cadet to adult ratio. So trying to grab a group of cadets and bring them over to the beach, I'm going to have to lose some of my seniors that are on site. While they may be 12-to-1, that may leave me with the remainder under a 12-to-1. So it's just, there's a lot of logistics and policy things that kind of go into that. We try not to leave the base unless it's the entire encampment is moving to go do a tour.
Mm-hmm.
I see a couple questions in here. Different branches, aircraft, takeoff and land. So the beauty of that base is many units use it as a trainer base. So we've had C5s from Dover come use it just to do some landings. They'll do some touch and goes. Fighters sometimes come and go just to do touch and goes for practice. I can't guarantee they'll see anything, but I certainly can't say they won't see anything. Barracks situations, it's going to be very similar. We used Army last year, right, Kathy?
Yep.
Yes.
So similar building layout, just different physical building. Captain Canberra, good question for you. Parents will, if parents are attending graduation, do they need to apply for a base pass ahead of time? Was there any sort of question to get them on for the special event status? Are they checking anything, or is it as long as they say, hey, we're with Civil Air Patrol, they're letting them in?
It's
Perfect.
relaxed access at the Bourne Gate.
Cadets under 18 do not need to worry about a real ID. I can answer that. However, adults do. If you are 18 or older, you will not be able to get on the base without a real ID. There's nothing I can do about that. They require a real ID. So for anybody dropping off or anybody coming to the graduation, unless they just don't check, if you roll up to the gate and say, hey, I'm with Civil Air Patrol, they might just wave you through. But if they ask for an ID, it will have to be a real ID.
Will a passport
passports are good.
Yeah.
Or there's a laundry list. If you don't have a real ID, you have to come with like your social security card, a raised seal birth certificate, and a non-real ID compliant driver's license. Those 3 documents. We'll send out some more info as we get closer about if you didn't get a real ID or don't have a real ID, how you can work through it. But I would prepare to have some sort of formal ID and not roll the dice on the gate guards. They're usually very good to us, but this is a new hurdle. I don't see any others in here that we haven't gotten.
Colonel Silva, maybe the only thing, so like if an emergency comes up, they need to get a hold of their cadet. There's a method to do that, right?
Perfect. Let me pull up, because we had to get a new number this year. Let me pull up. We have a phone. I'm glad you brought this up, Chief. We bought a phone that parents are able to call if they have any sort of issue during the encampment. I'm going to put the number right now in the chat. We'll email it out several times. that phone number is going to be the phone number that you can call if you have an emergency at home and you need to get a hold of your cadet, where your cadet's not going to have their phone on them at all times. Things happen. We understand that, you have an emergency in the family, you got to come grab your cadet or something. You just need to talk to your cadet. You can call that number. That phone will be manned 24 hours a day. Somebody will answer it. If they don't answer, leave them a voicemail, shoot it a text message. They'll get back to you in a minute or two. And we will find your cadet and get you into contact with them. That'll be on a little business card that we're going to have printed when you come to check in. And on that business card will be the emergency contact. If that number doesn't work, my actual phone number will be listed right below it. I'm sure it's scattered all over the internet anyway. If somebody really needs to get a hold of it, you Google my name, I'm sure my phone number pops up. But that's how we'll handle that. Bed sheets, I don't know.
No,
Kathy? Not?
No,
I
don't
no,
think
you have
so.
to bring them.
All right, I don't remember.
It's on the
They don't-
packing list.
I wouldn't trust the Army's bed sheets anyway. I bring my own.
They have pillows, but I guess you could bring your own if it really, really had to, but you're going to have a lot of stuff that you're bringing. So
I guess actually
choose.
I wish we could go back to that recommended things to recommend for first time attendees. Pack all of your stuff up the weekend before.
Yes.
See if you can carry it.
Right. Yeah. Parents, we don't want you carrying this stuff.
That is a lot of stuff. And if they need a hand, they need a hand. But just, you can tell the people that packed the morning of stuff falling out of boxes. Just do your best. We understand, but
I think the packing list only said a top sheet. Do we also need to provide a bottom sheet?
No, it had both.
Maybe I'm
I don't know.
misremembering, but I thought it said only top sheet. I'm trying to find it
Well,
now.
in the past, we had the kids do hospital corners, so they would come with 2 top sheets.
Okay.
oh, maybe it's just top sheet times 2 or something.
Yeah, at the bottom of the first page under room items, the first item says 2 white or neutral twin size top sheets.
Yeah.
And then after that, it says pillowcase, blankets, etc. It doesn't say anything
Right.
about a box. So he's good if he
Yeah.
brings 2 twin top sheets.
Right. So he can practice at home the hospital corners. He can look up on YouTube.
Okay.
If not,
So
we'll
they
teach him.
they should bring a pillowcase, but they should not bring a pillow?
If he wants a pillow, he can bring his own pillow, but there are pillows provided. It's literally a mattress and a pillow
Okay.
that they'll walk into. It's a mattress and a pillow on a metal bunk.
And what would you recommend for him to bring his stuff in? Like a suitcase, a trunk, a duffel bag? Can he bring like 2 duffel bags if we don't have one that's really big?
My opinion is whatever you already have on hand. I would not go out and buy something just to haul it in there. Some people buy those duffel bags. You have a duffel bag, great. That works. You got a duffel bag and like a rolling suitcase because that's what it takes. It's fine.
Okay, I didn't want him to bring a rolling suitcase and then not be able to put it like under his bed or have like no place
Yeah.
to store it and then get in trouble.
He won't
We
be
have
alone.
storage.
He won't
We
be
have
alone
storage.
if he brings it. We'll help him store it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Cadet Hill, you have a raised hand?
My personal suggestion, and I've done this for NCSA's multiple encampments, plastic tote bins. I feel like every family has them somewhere for storage. They're really easy to pack in. They're almost always big enough for everything, and you're not carrying a bunch of bags. So that's my personal suggestion.
Any size? Do you have a size for that?
Big enough to hold all the stuff.
Yeah.
It's quite the list. It's quite the list.
Okay.
I guess as we're getting closer to the end here, we should have a couple of parting comments here. Chief, do you have any comments or anything that you want to throw out there?
No, yeah, absolutely. Of course, I got something to say. No, I'm really looking forward to encampment. Like I said, when I was first talking Civil Air Patrol, somebody described it as basic training light, and it absolutely is not that. We teach cadets, and the idea is we're going to standardize some stuff, and we're going to fix some drill inconsistencies throughout the wing, and they're going to have a great time. every cadet, speaking of Colonel Williams, when he talked about the rappelling tower, I saw a cadet that was scared out of his mind, and he made it down that tower, and he thought he could conquer the world. So they are going to be challenged, but they are going to love at the end of it, they're going to be so proud of themselves and for what they've accomplished. So we look forward to hosting your kids.
Colonel Williams, do you have anything?
We follow a leadership philosophy that the Air Force, the Army, the military has been following for years, and it's called Mission Command. Most people in the public are not aware of it, but we build units on trust. We share understanding of the problem. We seek solutions at the lowest level possible. You push disciplined initiative. You push what you want done down to the lowest level to get it done, and you coach people through that problem solving. It's all about developing what's called commander's intent. So when a subordinate gets a mission, they know at the end of the day what needs to happen, and there's a great degree of flexibility. So we tell them what we want done, not how to do it, and those subordinates will learn how, and the leaders will be there to coach them. There's a degree of risk, of course, that we all take in that. It won't be done the way I would want it done. It wouldn't be done necessarily the way you would want it done. But then we have this process called an after-action review. And we go through and we talk about what was supposed to happen, what did happen, and the cadets once again learn to take responsibility for their own actions and responsibility for improving things that didn't go so well, and growing in that trust, that shared understanding, and that risk acceptance. So it's the way the military operates nowadays. It's a wonderful model. I've seen it personally in action. I also did a number of years, and we introduced it to cadets, and they flourish.
All right, anybody other seniors have anything they want to throw in, or any of our cadet leaders here? Go ahead.
I'll just put out there for all the parents and cadets on here, please follow our social media things. I know Public Affairs is working on a lot of projects right now designed to answer a lot of these questions. How do I pack? What do I need to pack? Also, check emails constantly. I know everyone is working on some email drafts with more information. So just keep checking sites like that, and you'll get answers to questions that you didn't even think to ask.
We're going to do another one of these, right?
I believe that's the plan. We'll do another one as we get closer to encampment, once all the deadlines have ended and we have a participants Q&A.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Silva, you want to wrap us up?
Sure. My comments are really more geared towards the parents. Just want to assure all of you that as the adult staff here, our number one focus is going to be cadet safety. National has been pushing hard every year for us to codify how we protect our cadets. And many of the examples that they have used and kind of steered the rest of the nation towards are really our best practices, the things we've already been doing for years. I would appreciate it if parents could have a conversation with their cadets about what is professional behavior. Most issues at other encampments are really cadet on cadet related, more so than adult and cadet. We run a very professional encampment. We strive for these cadets to grow, to learn, to ask questions, and really not tolerate the horseplay that other programs will tolerate. So if you could just do me that favor, have a conversation with your cadet. We are professionals here. Our cadets are professionals, but they are also learning. They may make mistakes. And I just encourage all of our cadets that do come to ask questions and challenge their understanding of the world. I don't have too much more here, so if anybody has any final questions, we certainly can answer them. If anybody has anything they want to throw out there, by all means, throw it out there. If not, I hope everybody has a great night.
Lots of thank yous on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Is this the first time we've done this?
No.
No, we did one last year.
Did we? Okay.
I don't think we had as many staff participants on it. I think it was just myself and Colonel and Captain Breeze.
Oh, good.
Yeah, well, at peak, I think we had 31 people in the group.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of us that included, probably about a dozen of us.
We definitely had more parent participation.
Yes.
Yes,
This
and I'm
time
glad
around.
because I wanted that. Somebody even commented about it. Love how there will be no horseplay.
Yeah.
It's not what we're there for. We are not there for that.
No, we do still have some parents in, so.
I'll just hang out and see if anybody has any final questions or questions they didn't want to specific.
Right.
They didn't want to air in front of 30 others.
Another thing came up as I'm reading. I just picked up the list right now, looking at the PT uniforms. A lot of clothes.
They sweat a lot.
Socks I get, lots of shorts.
Yeah, they sweat a
Light
lot.
gray. So basically, nobody's going to look exactly identical, but you're asking like general color
Generally.
scheme, right? Is that what it's about?
We're not going to say you must come with Adidas shade, slate gray, 5 tie.
Yeah.
We don't care. Just
Right.
try to look like everybody else. It's just so that they're all similar.
But it's not black, right? Because I think I've heard before that that black was the color for PT. Seems like gray.
We'll get
It's
that
what's
clarified.
necessary.
If the packing list says gray,
It's all about
last
gray.
year, there was some confusion last year. We'll make sure that we get that all clarified. That if it says gray, it's gray.
Yeah. Okay.
I think in the 39-1 it says black or blue, but this is
I
for
think so.
encampment. So, yeah, I think they're having the core cadets in gray, and then the staff cadets will be in black, just to kind of differentiate everyone.
I saw one person flashed up a question about laundry facilities. There will be.
We're going to take
there
care
will
of that.
be laundry. Yep.
One day your
Oh.
ABUs will be washed. That's it. Nothing else. ABUs.
We are very
Also,
limited.
they can
We
be
should-
washed.
We
You don't
should,
need
Just
dry
we should
cleaning?
one night,
clarify here.
probably
We have
Wednesday.
one facility to do laundry at, and we have to be very strategic. ABUs, we understand most people do not have several sets of them, and these
Yes.
cadets will go do the obstacle course, leadership reaction course in ABUs. They will be disgusting for the rest of the week. So after they hit that, that's typically when we get them to get those washed.
So to clarify, they do not need to have a second set of ABUs.
If they do have a second set, they're not as pressed to get it washed. But
Okay.
You're probably still going to want to get.
yeah, we have a lot of cadets in our wing that do not have a second set. Just the availability of smaller sized ABUs are so hard to get that
For sure.
it becomes unreasonable. So I see. Do we need to bring laundry detergent for sensitive skin? We'll have
No.
probably a couple different options.
That's all we have is sensitive skin laundry
oh.
detergent. Nothing fluffy or dye. Nothing. Just
Shouldn't have
complete
stepped on the
clean.
logistics officer's toes
Good.
there. She's got it covered.
Is that what I am now?
Captain Mom. I don't know who is still pending in here. Do we have anybody else that's looking?
There's still 13 people on.
Staff. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 people still in here.
Faith is one of mine.
Oh, gone. All right.
It's her first time going.
All right. I'm just holding out if anybody has any questions. If you don't feel like you want to ask it, there's still too many people. Feel free. Just email me, brian.silva@mog.cap.gov. I think I threw it in the chat way earlier. Sure, my email's out there, and I'll forward it along to whoever can answer it if I can't.
And then Sing and Marcella, thank you guys for hopping on. You guys can head out if you guys want.
I think those are 2 of the names that I wasn't tracking.
Yeah, good job, cadets. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice night.
Have a good night.
Yeah,
Okay,
Hill,
thank
you
you,
did a
guys.
good job, even though you weren't expecting to be the
Thrown right
sole
in.
teacher. You did really well.
Thank you, ma'am.